So just recently, I believe recently anyway, it's been announced that Mushoku Tensei Quest and Memories will be coming to English. And that's honestly a really good thing because it seems very much like a visual novel kind of text-based game. And if that's not in English, then I couldn't really play it that well because I don't know much Japanese. Uh-oh. But thankfully it is coming out on English. But I wanted to in the past make a video talking about like what a perfect Mushoku Tensei game could look like, and well, obviously we're already getting one, and so it might feel a little crappy to make a video like that still. I don't know, but I wanted to go through. There is an English website, and so some of you might have already seen this, some of you might not have known it existed, like me, like just a couple days ago. I didn't know that it was getting in English until I found the English website by chance. And so I wanted to just go through it and also kind of just talk about what even is this game? Like, I don't understand the premise of it. I'm fine with how it looks like. That's fine. I almost kind of like the style. Obviously, I think a lot of us would really enjoy a like third-person POV, semi-open world Mushoku Tensei adventure where you can be Eris or Rudius, maybe Rougeard, but that might be a little too overpowered. But you can just it would be a very fun, open experience, right? And it would be a different kind of RPG. But instead, we're getting a very old school feel RPG, and I'm fine with it. I think it's cool because in Mushoku Tensei, like on one hand, Mushoku Tensei is a nice, cool action. It's all about the world, and so being able to explore it freely and to be able to use its like I was gonna say a unique magic system, but it is not unique at all. But to use its magic system to its fullest would be so cool to explore. But instead, we're getting a very like text-heavy adventure, which I honestly think is totally fine. It fits Mushoku Tensei perfectly to have a text-based video game based on it, because that is what really matters at the end of the day, is the Mushoku Tensei characters, not I was going to say not necessarily the world, but the world is definitely important. It's not about the action. And so having a text-based game honestly works for me, and visually it looks interesting, it's unique, it's a bit of a cheaper game, it's only $40 USD, 60 Canadian, so it's not really like a AAA game, I guess. And so don't expect too much from it, but also expect a little bit because I think it'll still be really fun, and I am very hyped for the game. I forget what I was talking about. The game, like what is it? I don't know what this game is supposed to be. Like okay, so let's just quickly go through the website right now. We have the English website. I don't know why I don't know, the subtext there is just very different. It's just a completely different font. A little off. Doesn't matter. June 20th, 2024. I'm super excited. We got some news, whatever, new key visual with Roxy and Rudius traveling through the Demon Continent, which is not a thing, but I like it. So the story, right? The story begins as Rudius and Eris, who are teleported to the Demon Continent to join Rougeard. With more than just the classic scenes from the anime, new scenarios created for the game are also included. Experience the epic adventures of dead end members while taking on missions related to the original characters. What's more, the undepicted adventure of Roxy and her team will be unveiled in the game. How will you overcome the various challenges that fall upon Rudius's party? Isn't there not supposed to be a second S when you have a plural of a word that ends with S? Don't you just do the apostrophe and that's it? I don't know. Maybe there are scenarios where you do have another S, but I don't know. Anyway, we get a little character like sheet here. I'm not going to go through them all. It doesn't really matter. We have these characters on the Wikia. Interestingly enough, they have Sylphie. It says in this text here, in like I guess maybe the Japanese translation, unofficial translation, it talks about you can see the undepicted adventure of Roxy and her team as well as Sylphie. And so I wonder if Sylphie will be playable. Like, I understand have the Eris, Rudius, and Rougeard. It makes sense why they're in the game. They're the main characters of this part of the story. Roxy, Talon, and Elena Lies, sure, makes sense as well. We're going to get side stuff from them. Geese, we're probably going to meet him in the Great Forest at some point. It makes sense why we're going to see him. But Ghislaine and Sylphie. Ghislaine's part of the story, we do know quite a bit about what she was up to during the displacement incident. She was in the conflict zone, which I believe is near the Sharon Kingdom-ish. And so she was kind of there dealing with a bunch of crap there. But then there's Sylphie, where like are we gonna see her with Ariel? Are we gonna like have her fight an assassin or whatever? Like I don't know what her story there would be. I don't know much conflict. Like, would Linnea and Persena be there? I feel like this would be. I'll talk about it more later, but her story would feel fitting somewhere else. So I don't know. It's weird how these two characters in specific are listed as characters in the game. Because, again, everyone else makes sense. Even Geese makes sense. But why Ghislaine and Sylvie? That's really interesting. And it almost shows as well. Ghislaine as well. She would fit somewhere else. I don't know what this game is. I don't know how far in the story it's going to go. I assume it's going to go up until when Eris leaves Rudius, right? But we have a bit of a problem with that in the fact that that is just boring. It's just boring. Why would they? Okay, so this is the problem that I have with the game. Because I don't know what it is. I don't know how far in the story it's going to go. But from a watching and reading standpoint, it makes sense. The travel from the, I guess, demon continent to the central continent, it makes sense. There is no overarching enemy because the journey itself is the enemy. But the thing is, it's not the end of the series. There's still so much more. But in a way, Mushoku Tensei, it has an overarching enemy, but at the same time, it doesn't, right? There is no final boss. But again, at the same time, there is, but there isn't. It's weird. But in terms of a video game, there has to be an overarching enemy. There has to be that final boss. And yes, we're going to fight Orsted in this game. If we do go up until the end of like season 1 part 2, sure, we're going to meet Orsted, which will be an awesome fight where we just get skewered. We get the ace treatment, but that's not, I don't think that's enough, because the end will just have Eris leave Rudy and then it'll just be all sad and depressing. Like, what is the main like climax of the story? Because there wouldn't be any, because there wasn't any, because the entire climax was, well, I guess there was a climax around that time, but it was very depressing afterwards. And so it's like, I'm sitting here thinking like, how is this a game? I don't understand. It is very cheap. It is a cheap game. It's only $40 to $60 depending where you are, right? It's not that expensive, meaning that there's probably not going to be a whole lot to it. I could expect maybe 20 hours out of it, stretching it maybe. I don't know. It is a visual novel game partly, and so that means that they can definitely extend the time a lot more for a lot less money. But still, it's like, I'm sitting here thinking like, what is going to be, like, are we going to go in detail the entire journey from the demon continent to the central continent? Are we even going to go to Millis? That's a whole other thing I totally forgot. Are we even going to, obviously Geese is there, so we have to make it to Millis at some point. We have to make it to at least the Great Forest, but why isn't Paul listed as a character if we're not going to go all the way through Millis and meet Paul? And then where's Aisha and Norn? Obviously they probably wouldn't be playable characters, but like, where are we going to be stuck in the demon continent? There is a map. Let me show. So we have the world map. It says the world map, demon continent. Let me move my little face there. The demon continent, which implies there will be other continents to explore. Why emphasize demon continent, right? So it does imply, especially with Geese being here, it makes sense. We're going to see like Millis. We're going to go to the Millis continent. We're going to go to the Great Forest. At the very least, we're going to make it to that part of the story. Where else are we going to go from there? Are we going to see Paul? I don't know, because he's not listed as a character. It's very difficult to say how far we're actually going. Obviously, Rougerd will be changing his design, right? We have the blue hair Rougerd there, the bald Rougerd, but that's like somewhat early on in the journey. So it's hard to really say where, like how far we're going to go. And the problem that I am seeing is, again, it's like, what is the story? This is not a criticism of the game. It's just I don't understand what it is. And there doesn't seem to be an overarching villain, because there wasn't one in the story. Like, how closely are we going to adapt the original story? Because it does say, again, there's the, with more than just the classic scenes from the anime, new scenarios will be included, right? Is that going to be the main premise of the game? Is the new scenarios? Or what? Like, I don't know. Maybe all of this is already explained and I don't know, right? I might be an idiot. Maybe everyone else already knows about this, and well, actually, this is exactly what they're doing. They've stated that they're going to go this far in the story. I don't know. Well, actually, everyone does know, and it is stated that Sylphiette, Ghislaine, and Geese, who did not rejoin in the original anime, can now team up in this game. And so the Steam page said if I did a second more of research, we would know why they are on the website and why they are in the game. The rest of the video is still good, and it's more so talking about potential, the future, I guess, of Quest to Memories, but yeah, I just finished editing the video and I found this out. Continue watching because I do come up with some neat ideas, I think. And the fact that we don't even make it to Millis does kind of emphasize my point of what the hell is this game? But the main point of what I'm saying here is there isn't an overarching villain. In a game, there kind of has to be, right? And so is this going to be a case of like, we're just going to be jumping from side story to side story and just kind of, hey, this is extra bonus content if you've read the books or watched the anime. That's what this game is. Or are we actually going to go through the actual events of the story? It seems like that it will be a mix of both, but we don't know what the balance is. Is it going to be more main story stuff with a little bit of new extra content, or is it going to be mostly extra content and focusing a little bit on the original story? And the reason why I bring this up is, one, again, we don't know how far it's going to go. And two, again, I've mentioned it time and time again, there's no overarching villain. And so this as a game concept seems very odd, right? Like, why is this game going to be a game without a villain, essentially? The only way that could work, because the ending, obviously, Eris will be leaving Rudy, and it will just be a very depressing ending. And just to have that and then, let things go feels so weird. And so there are a couple ways that they can go about this, right? So pretty much, I feel as though there will be multiple games. Quest to Memories is probably not going to be a single game because we could get a sequel, right? And the sequel would probably cover the events from Season 2, maybe even into Season 3, because there's really not a lot of stuff in Season 2 that would be playable as a game, especially from Rudius's part, right? The way that it could work is the game starts you off with Counter Arrow, and you're with them, maybe already joined the team, whatever, you're doing the beginning quests with them, and then after that part of the gameplay, then you would probably move over to Eris's POV, where we could just straight up get, the couple chapters, or however, I don't know what the anime is going to do with Eris. I feel like they're going to save all of her adaptation stuff to Season 3. We're gonna wait to see her at all in Season 2. I don't think we're gonna get an Eris DLC, because the bonus 25th episode of Mushoku Tensei Season 2 was episode 0. The 25th episode was episode 0. The 25th episode of Season 1 was the Eris OVA. We just got a Sylphie OVA, essentially, for episode 0 with Season 2 Part 1. So I don't know if we're going to get another bonus episode. We're not going to get episode 26. And we don't have enough runtime to spare an episode for Eris this season. So chances are, I think the best way to go about it is to shove it into Season 3. And I'm not going to go into details, but there is a certain part of the story where it works perfectly. There'd be the big event, and then you just shove her backstory in there. Just get it in there, and then there we go, right? Anyway, we would probably be able to see her story in the game after we deal with Rudius and Counter Arrow, and then we would just go through, again, we could either just do the couple chapters of the Eris POVs that the books and anime have kind of adapted and skipped, or we could do the Eris Gaiden manga and actually adapt a full-on adventure with her, which would be pretty cool. It would expand upon the gameplay as well. I bet you the Counter Arrow section would definitely be expanded upon as well, especially because there is a lot of skipped content. I said the title. The lot of skipped content from not Rudius with Counter Arrow, but Rudius with Stepped Leader. And so there's a lot of content that they could add in and fill in the gaps there, right? Showing Rudius fight more dragons or something, right? Other monsters like that. There's a lot that they can do. And then from there, there'd be the school arc, which again, maybe it'd be at that point, I guess, they would show the Eris POV, or maybe we'd also be able to see Sylphie's POV, where she would, this is where I don't know what they're going to do with Sylphie in this, in Quest to Memories 1. Are they going to adapt her side of the story when the displacement incident happened. Why is she not Fitz? Why is she presented as Sylphie then in the cover image? Right? So I don't know, because Quest of Memories 2, if that's a thing, it would work really well if we have Fitz dealing with, Ariel's little problems. They'd be adventuring to the Asura Kingdom for a while, which is again more adventuring. All three of these like POVs would be dealing with kind of different parts of the world as well. It would be the trio, like Sylphie, Luke, and Ariel, with a couple of the others, going up from the central like Asura to the Northern Territories, and then with Eris as well. She's kind of in the Northern Territory region as well. And then it would, I guess Rudius would also be there. Never mind. They're all kind of closely within the same part of the area, part of the world, but still, it's like, it would be kind of a little bit different and unique. Even though it's the same general area, it would be a much more closed off section of the map, dealing with the three territories themselves. Maybe Eris traveled throughout the three territories. I don't know. Rudius might have as well. I don't know exactly where all of them went, but there is a lot of content there, a lot of potential there to switch between the three POVs and have them dealing with their three completely different stories. And then it would probably be a little bit of like, I feel like you'd have to skip a lot of season 2, part 1, the back half, a lot of Rudius's stuff with Sylphie and everything, because there's not really, like, how do you adapt that into a video game? It is almost too slice of life. But then we'd obviously get the Labyrinth arc, which I'm not going to go into any details about, but that is a whole subsection of the game that could easily be done. The traveling to the Beggared Continent itself, there's a lot of potential there for a lot of exploration in that area, in that part of the story. And so Quest Memories 2 could very easily adapt all of that if they wanted to, including, I could even see them going into Season 3 stuff. But what I did describe was already a lot, so I don't think so. But that would feel much more like climactic, I guess, as a finale for that game. This one seems very much like the beginning of a game, right? This is Act 1, because it would feel very bland, I feel. There's no main antagonist, there's no overarching villain or anything, there's no big boom finale other than you just getting skewered by Orsted. It feels weird as a video game, unless they introduce an original character, and that would be the side stories, and the side stories would have that overarching villain. I don't know. I'm very confused. Something that they could do as well, because Mushoku Tensei Quest of Memories 2 would kind of feel like an odd title, and so I could totally see it. I know a lot of you might not be into this, but Quest of Memories DLC I think would work really well if they started to produce this in like an episodic fashion, having like maybe not an episodic fashion, I don't know, because you could do like the Eris story DLC, Sylphie story DLC, Rudius story DLC, like, and then I guess Labyrinth DLC. That would be a very easy way to do it. You would jump around as well. You wouldn't have to like fill in the blanks, because you could just throw them right into it. No context needed, really. But at the same time, having it paced like the original game, just having it be the Northern Territory DLC, where it just deals with all of the characters all in that one section of the story. That could also work. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but at the end of the day, Quest of Memories 2, that would work. That would work really well. But also, it's like, I don't know what this Mushoku Tensei game is. And I might have overstated that a lot, and I apologize, but what in the world is Mushoku Tensei Quest of Memories? If I kept that as the title, I said the title. I know, it's crazy. But I genuinely don't know what it is. And again, I apologize for repeating. And now I'm repeating this as well. I need to be stopped. I don't know. I'm very excited for the game because I don't know what it's going to be about. It doesn't feel like it's going to be a complete game. And with that cheaper price tag, it feels, again, like almost just like additional content thrown in. It doesn't feel like an actual game. And I'm a little worried, but also I'm still very intrigued. It's like, how is this a game? I don't know. And also, I would absolutely love for there to be an actual sequel to the game, adapting more parts of the story, going into more detail about parts of the story that we haven't been able to see much of. We could also have Roxy's POV as well in the sequel, like, because we technically don't get that as well. Now would be able to involve like Paul, Geese, Talon, like we'd be able to get a lot of them as well. It would be very interesting. But I don't know, there's a lot of potential for a sequel as well if they want to turn this into a series, or just add more DLC, because that would probably be easier, and you could have it a little bit of a cheaper price point because you've already paid the main bulk of the game, and that could also be why they made it cheaper, because they plan on having DLC. I don't know. But having other parts of the stories, even going stuff into like, adapting Paul Gaiden into like an official setting other than the mobile game, or adapting these older stories as well, would be really interesting. Or they would be like Dragon Ball and like, oh, Moro? But he's not in the anime. We're not going to put him inside of any video game whatsoever. Absolutely no Moro, no Granola, no nothing, right? Black Frieza? Who? Like, they could go Dragon Ball with that, and if it exists in the manga and not in the anime, as far as we're concerned, it doesn't exist at all. But I hope not. Mushoku Tensei seems to be a little bit more open about expand, because Rita also got backstory as well. Anime fans have no idea who Rita even is. And they gave her a whole backstory in the mobile game as well. So I do think that there is possibility for more little stories of DLC through the game, and like, or even just continuing the main story. I would love that. Having more details and like more extra little side content would be so cool. But Quest to Memories on its own as it stands, I have no idea what it is. And I'm excited because it's June 20th. I am very excited for Quest to Memories. What are you guys' thoughts? What do you think this game is? How much is it going to adapt? Is it going to be mostly side stories or not? Maybe they've already like officially talked about it, but again, I haven't looked too much into the game. My nose gets itchy when recording. I don't know why. I haven't looked too much into it, so maybe there's a lot of like the questions that I have, a lot of them have already been answered. I don't know. All of the marketing has only shown the demon continent so far, I believe, and so it's kind of weird that like Geese is there and it's like it says demon continent. I'm repeating myself at this point. What are you guys' thoughts on the game? Do you think that a sequel would be cool? Would you be more excited for DLC rather than a sequel? And have I been talking way too fast in this video? I don't know, and I hope not. But if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe for more Mushoku Tensei content, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.